accompanied the royal procession of Bonsle that would make him think that Bonsles were the real kings. But when he joined the primary school, he began to see the light. Certain news items appearing in papers and thrilling episodes of the contemporary revolutionary heroes laid before his tender mind the shocking picture of foreign domination. And when, as a child, he stepped into the primary school and listened to the story of Shivaji, that great Hindu redeemer, became his chosen hero. As a result, the fiery streak of patriotism began to manifest itself when he was hardly 8 years old, when he spotted the better stain of slavery in the sweets on the occasion of an imperial celebration. This instinctive nation fervor of Kesav came to the fore on yet another occasion. In 1901, King Edward VI ascended the throne of England. The proprietors of the Empress Mills in Nagpur had arranged colorful fireworks on that day. The entire city had congregated to witness the rare event. But Kesav refused to go and told his young friends, "It is shameful to celebrate the coronation of foreign ruler, and I shall not be party to it." Kesav was then just 12 years of age. In those days, it was customary to fly the Union Jack atop the Sita Budi fort in Nagpur. Kesav and his friends got a brain wave. If only we could replace that flag by ours, the removing the Union Jack. But the premises were continuously guarded. How to reach the mast? So, why not dig a tunnel leading to the fort from a distant building? The boys set about their project straightway. One room in the house of their teacher, Vijay, had been kept apart for the boys' study. A pickaxe, shovel, and other implements were brought, and they began digging in right earnest behind closed doors. When the room remained closed for 2 or 3 days continuously, Vijay became suspicious and entered the room. A deep pit stared him in the face beside a corner. Anticipating punishment, "What is this you have done?" shouted Vijay. Kesav and his friends explained their intended venture. Vijay patiently advised that boys should not waste their time in such foolhardy activities. However, he could not help admiring the fervent patriotism that had prompted their young minds to undertake the venture. In later days, after Kesav had left for Calcutta for higher studies, Vijay used to narrate this incident with great pride and affection. In those days, Dr. Munje was the most outstanding public figure in Nagpur. He drew to himself youths of various persuasion, from constitutionalists to moderates to firebrand revolutionaries. Kesav naturally gravitated towards Dr. Munje. Lokamanya Balagangadhar Tilak had just then launched his Paisa fund through his newspaper Kesari Kesav, worked ceaselessly, ceaselessly in Nagpur for the success of that project. He went from house to house for fundraising. A true social worker neither asks for anybody's favor for him, self nor his self nor is he ashamed to beg for a social cause. And this attitude Kesav had imbibed since his student days. Attending public meetings and listening to leaders' speeches was Kesav's favorite pastime. He, he and his friends naturally nursed the ambition that they too would someday be able to deliver lectures for propagating patriotism. As a training ground, they started a debating society and arranged periodical debating sessions. This activity received great encouragement from the called Swadesha Bandhava flag battle for hours. Each side fought with consuming passion to get the possession of the flag, which was the target. The spirit of adventure entered into their blood. In this infancy, Kesav's imagination used to be fired with pride at the sight of the grand pageant of cannons, elephants, horses, band, bodyguards, etc. This activity received great encouragement from the group called Swadesha Bandhava, organized by Dr. Pandurangarao Kankoji, who later became a famous revolutionary. The encouraged consumer products of Indian manufacture. A store, Arya Bandhava Vitika, was opened by the Swadesha Bandhava. The brand was of 5 weapons, which carried its own message. Kesav frequently worked there as a salesman. He also spread the message of Swadeshi among his friends. This dynamic and purposeful activists naturally carried their message to the youngsters' hearts. Many of them made up their minds to stake everything in the cause of national emancipation. The stifling political and social environment stirred them to the core. The atmosphere in those days in Nagpur has been vividly described in his autobiography by the renowned revolutionary Ramlal Vajpayee, who had spent many years in the United States preparing the ground for the Indians here for their rising when the time came. In a town with lakhs of people An ordinary Pathan from Kabul enters, beats up the helpless poor, and goes away with his loot unhindered. Slums have sprung up all round the Hislop College. Drunken Muslim rowdies have made it their habit to abuse us when we pass that way to reach the college. We do not react. An around British soldier kicks a poor soul in front of thousands and walks away. Nobody reacts. When educated people like us go to the gymnasium for body building, others look upon us with contempt. One is totally at a loss as to what could be done with such a society. It was in such a depressing atmosphere that Lord Curzon partitioned Bengal in 1905, and this provided the much needed spark, and the youth of the country exploded in revolt. Sparks of revolution flew in all directions. Protest meetings were held everywhere. Heaps of foreign cloths were set on fire. The extremist youth sent for their battle cry, and many British officers fell victim to their battle cry, and many a British officer fell victim to their fury. It was followed by the British officer fell victim their fury. Followed by British, sorry. It was followed by the British displaying their brute power through lathi charges and firings. Quite a few bright young men sacrificed their lives. Many more were thrown behind bars. Vande Mataram became the thunderous battle cry of an awaked nation. Maharshi Aurobindo Ghosh wrote, "It was by means of the mantra Vande Mataram that the woe of patriotism was administered to the entire country overnight." It was in 1907 Kesav had gone to Rampayali to visit his uncle Abaji Hedgewar. Dasara had commenced. It was the custom to hold a Mammat fair on the Vijayadashami day, in which the entire village community participated. Kesav was thrilled at the thought of such a God-sent opportunity to broadcast the call of independence. He conceived of a plan along with his young companion. Contingent of 200 or 300 villagers started as usual in a procession led by a musical band. The elite of the place, including many government officers, colorfully attired, joined the procession. Killing of the mythical Ravana in the outskirts of the village was part of the fair. Strangely, the number of young people this time was far more than it used to be, and they were all bubbling with enthusiasm. As soon as the procession reached the appointed spot, Keshav shouted at the top of his voice, Vande Mataram. The entire body of youth echoed, echoed, echoed and re-echoed the slogan in a loud and full-throated chorus. Sorry, throated chorus. This unexpected turn of events came as a bolt from the blue to the congregation. The killing of Ravana was coolly forgotten, and the loyal people broke out pell mell, broke out the pell mell. But the youth had virtually formed a cordon round the people. Keshav, accompanied by two other students, sang their entire poem, Vande Mataram, and followed it up with a spirited discourse on the real significance of the killing of Ravana. The news spread like wildfire and soon became a topic of hot public discussion. While some people praised the daring of youths, a few others denounced them for their foolhardiness. Government officials, as could be expected, became unnerved and felt out of their wits. The next day, police officers arrived there for enquiry. They thought of instituting cases on those responsible for the incident. However, due to the intervention of a leading gentleman of the town, they dropped the idea. But a fallout the event was that Keshav began to be continuously shadowed thereafter. Keshav, of course, did not mind it. However, his uncle Abaji became a suspect and was transferred to a distant place. Self respecting as he was, Abaji refused the transfer and resigned the job. This was how the elderly Hedgewar too was drawn into the fairy by his own younger nephew. Because, because of Keshav's activities, a few sympathetic elders became concerned about his future and felt that he was running his life. It once happened that Keshav had a accompany Abaji to the house of one Jakatdar in Bandhara. Among those present there was Amritarao Bandwala, the assistant commissioner. After the introductions, Jakatadar said Kesavarao is not at all interested in studies. He is spoiling his future by participating in student movements. Amritarao felt pity for Keshav. He affectionately called Keshav near him and advised, Keshav, you are too young. to understanding things. These activities will land you in trouble in future. Listen to me and stay away from politics. Such activities are not for students. Kesav calmly replied, Sir, I am ready to quit politics as advised by you. In that case, it is it is it is but proper that elders and learned persons like you should give up your job and jump into the political arena. Until that happens, students like me have no alternative except to take part in politics, even at the cost of our studies if need be. Amritaraf, of course, had no answer to this logical rejoinder. The year was 1908. Lokamanya Tilak had just visited Nagapur. The entire atmosphere of the city was vibrant with the call of Swaraj. One day, the inspector of schools planned to visit the Neil City School. The loyalty of the inspector to the King Emperor was indeed unbounded. He started his inspection accompanied by the headmaster, carrying an air of imperial majesty. They began with a matriculation class, but as soon as they began with the matriculation class, but as soon as they appeared at its entrance, they were greeted by a deafening roar of Vande Mataram. The inspector was taken aback as if stung by a scorpion. He went to another class. There too the same greeting awaited him, only in more uproarious pitch. Oh, no, this is treason! The inspector thundered in rage. The inspection came to an abrupt abrupt end. Who has instigated this follows with this slogan. The culprits must be expelled from the school forthwith. The inspector ordered and left. Everybody was asking the same question. From where did this slogan originate? Originate? All knew that all knew that the matriculation class was the source, but who was the guiding spirit behind it? The teachers entreated the students, but in vain. They threatened explosion, but to no avail. None of the students volunteered expulsion, but to no avail. None of the students volunteered information as who their leader was. Most of the parents, accustomed as they were to placid ways, were disturbed. As the school management could not ferret out the information, they expelled all the students of the two classes. The students left the school like a band of heroes. Jubilantly shouting of the two classes. The students left the school like a the Entire student body of the school thereafter boycotted the classes. After nearly 2 months, the elders of the city met and arrived at a face saving formal excuse me, and the strike was called off. However, two of the students refused to step into the school again. One of them was Kesav. It was he who heralded the new era of Vande Mataram in the Nagpur student world. Vande Mataram simply meant slanting the motherland and offering worship to her. To serve one's mother is the sacred duty of child. If the foreign rulers consider it a crime to salute one's motherland, I plead guilty. I shall, if need be, continue to commit the same crime any number of times, and shall gladly face the consequences. Such were the fairy expansions which often played on the lips of Kesav. Because of his daring yet endearing personality, Kesav was liked by all the students, even as he was a favorite of the teachers because of his studiousness, and humility. In order that his student career might not get spoiled, the teacher tried to wean him. He preferred leaving the school into evening uttering a formal apology. After leaving the Neil City School, Kesav joined the national school Vidya Griha in Yotmal. Far-sighted, fair-sighted public men had started such national schools at many places in the country in order to help the students driven out from government institutions to continue their studies. In Bengal, in particular, leaders like Babu Arabindo Ghosh, Dr. Ras Bihari Ghosh, Barrister Surendranath Bandopadhyaya, and others had established a national university called Vidya Griha for drawing up a syllabi, holding examinations, and awarding degrees. Patriotic and self-sacrificing teachers taught in the schools, accepting merely nominal salaries. The Vidya Griha at Yotmal had the benefit of guidance of such eminent nationalist leaders as Tapasvi, Baba Saheb Paranjpe, and Lokamanya Bapuji Ane. The institution was solely dependent on public munificence, munificence, such as the ennobling environment that shaped the young Kesav. But how could the British tolerate such institutions created to instill patriotic fervor? Yotmal had verily become an inspiring center of national awakening. Addition to the textual studies, boys like Kesav, avidly read periodicals like Kal Kesari, Bala Desh Sevak, etc. As the Vidyagriha offered excellent 3.5 year courses, many students left government schools and joined the Vidyagriha to suppress the activist movement in Vidarbha.